I'm going to get slaughtered probably in Sault Ste. Marie for saying this, but I do believe...
Was there any nerves whatsoever? You know, I'm a bit...
fuck yeah is my answer.
Like, what's something that's like, we're not doing that here?
Ah, man. You know what?
This is the very first episode of the Figuring It Out podcast. We're here with not only the owner of Peace Restaurant, but also the CEO of Dig Deep Agency, a consulting agency working with some massive local businesses here in the Sault, like Sault Area Hospital, Sault College, McDougall Energy, and much more. So let's give a huge round of applause for Kevin Rusnell.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being here, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, first of all, I want to say, thank you for, letting us use this space. It's beautiful, and I think it's cool you're going to let us, kind of come in and see right into your business, as well as get to know you a little better.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a journey to get to where we are today, but we're happy with how the kind of space turned out. And unfortunately, you guys can't see it off camera, but we just put in getting ready for a brand new patio, so we're pretty excited.
Patio season's on the way.
Yep.
Summer's here. Yeah, so we kind of gave you a little introduction here, but if you want to, kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more and kind of what you do.
Yeah, so I guess my day-to-day job would actually be my role at Dig. So I'm the CEO of Dig. We're kind of a marketing agency that started as a digital consulting firm. We do a lot of work here in the Sault, but we also do a lot of work around the country as well. So we've had clients as far as like Fort St. John, British Columbia, Whistler, clients in Toronto, lots of clients in Toronto actually. So I spend kind of my day-to-day managing that business. I have a couple other business interests, this being one of them, and I also own a real estate company as well. So I got my start at a pretty young age, but I've kind of worked up to where we are today.
Yeah, for sure. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 34 now, actually. Just had a birthday recently, so
wow.
Getting up there.
So, very young. I guess kind of tying into this restaurant, obviously, being at Peace. When did you start Peace? I know I was on your LinkedIn that said you've been working at Dig Deep now for like 9 years or 10 years, something like that.
Yeah, so Peace started the concept for Peace started about 2.5 years ago, so pretty much right in the middle of the pandemic. Which probably, in most people's eyes isn't the best time to open a restaurant. But the nice thing was that real estate was cheap at the time, especially when it comes to buying a restaurant. So it was kind of like an ideal time to strike. At the time, we really didn't know what was going to happen. So we were kind of in the middle of the pandemic. There were still like rolling lockdowns happening. We said, okay, well, let's just like start the build out on this place and kind of see what happens over the next 6 months. From start to finish, we closed on the building. I think it was like July. From start to finish, we ended up like having the place open in December. We opened up for 4 days, and then another lockdown hit, which was actually like the last lockdown we experienced. So we were closed for all of January, obviously bleeding a lot of money because we had just staffed up for everything. So carrying salaries and all that type of stuff. We'd actually just ordered like our weekly oyster supply, which is like 600 oysters is what we go through pretty much in a week. So a pretty crazy amount. And it was funny because it was my son's first birthday during that first lockdown, and the kid's birthday was like the only birthday where he had like 400 oysters that day.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
But yeah, it was kind of a weird time to open a restaurant, but that's kind of, how we got here.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say the pandemic was definitely a weird time for everybody, and I couldn't imagine starting a business, not only a business but a restaurant during that time. I kind of wanted to know though, kind of like, are you originally from the Sault? Like, how did it start? Are you born, raised here, or where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm actually originally from the Sault. I moved to Windsor to go to school for a little bit. I'm actually a university dropout. I'm kind of proud to say that. But I dropped out. Actually moved to Ottawa after that. Became a financial advisor for a little bit. So I was probably about 20 years old at the time, 21 maybe. Became a financial advisor for a bit. I was working for a company called Edward Jones. Moved back here to the Sault. Was working for a company called Dundee Wealth as a financial advisor. And then, so my current business partner, Jeff Elgie, him and I kind of linked up. I applied for a job at one of his companies, and Lucidia at the time, and started working there.
Cool.
Okay.
That's funny. I'm actually a student at the University of Windsor. That's where I'm studying right now. So
cool.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
I'm curious, just how do you get into the restaurant business? Because that's not exactly an easy business to start, like a marketing agency or starting an e-com store or something's a little easier. I guess, did you have a mentor or someone that you kind of learned a lot off of about starting a restaurant? Like, how do you order the stock? Where do you get the oysters? How long can you, like, just little stuff like that? Like, how do you start?
So yeah, a couple things to unpack in that question. No, I didn't have a mentor in terms of the restaurant industry. Solved a lot of those issues hiring really high quality people. So we've invested quite a bit in staff and just like people that really have understood the industry. Yeah. We've done a lot of learning together, even with the staff. Like, you know, none of them have ran a restaurant before, but, you know, very familiar with the restaurant world. So it was pretty easy for us to kind of, you know, make that adjustment and get everybody on board to, okay, let's start, you know, this is how we have to order things. Here's how you do product costing and all of that. But starting a restaurant actually came from the fact that as kind of an agency owner, I spend a lot of time entertaining. So I'm very much exposed to a lot of like really high quality food. So if you think about it, you know, you spend as an agency owner, like pretty much half of your time entertaining clients, going out for meals, signing deals, that type of stuff. And a lot of that was done in Toronto. So I was exposed to like some of the best restaurants in Toronto for like, the better part of like the last 10, 12 years. So I had a lot of great food experience. You know, call myself a foodie maybe, but you know, like I understand food to like a pretty deep level. And so that's kind of really helped fuel the passion for it. It's always been a passion of mine to kind of own a restaurant. Originally, it was supposed to be my retirement goal. You know,
a little early.
Yeah, you know, the building came up for sale. Our office is just right on the corner over here. You know, it's a good location. It was kind of like a crazy idea at the time and probably was way in over my head halfway through it, but that's okay. You know, we fought back and here we are today.
That's awesome. I guess tying in a little bit about the menu, since you sort of brought that up, what was the inspiration behind the menu? Because obviously it's more, I guess, Asian-based in general. Is that your personal favorite food?
Yeah, so I've actually been to Japan a couple times.
Oh, okay.
Wow. So I love Japanese food. We have a little bit of Korean flair, a little bit of Japanese flair on the menu. But the real story kind of behind it is that, like, the signed piece was actually supposed to be a slice of pizza. And it was going to be like a traditional wood-fired oven pizza place.
Right.
As you know, in Sault Ste. Marie, we've got too many pizza places.
We have a lot of pizza places.
More than enough pizza to go around here.
Yeah, and it's a really tough business. I mean, just in terms of like trying to introduce a new style of pizza. I mean, I'm going to get slaughtered probably in Sault Ste. Marie for saying this, but I do believe that there's a style of pizza that we don't have here that is like, you know, amazing in terms of quality, and that's kind of like a traditional Napoli style pizza, wood-fired, kind of like leopard print.
Even certain
crust.
Places in like Toronto, I know what you're talking about, they just have that like style of oven-baked pizza that's just like sort of next level. I guess the only place that even does like bar style oven baked pizza would be like the Mill. Yeah, because every other pizza place.
Even Windsor, I believe Windsor's known as the pizza capital of Canada, right? So they got their shredded pepperoni, like they got their whole own style down there, and
and so I've been to like New York. I've been to, you know, lots of great places in Toronto. I lived in Windsor, so like I've been exposed to a different style of pizza. We have our own style, which is like that, you know, it's called the Auroras, the Sandros, like the thick sweet dough, which is incredible in its own way. You know, the nice thing about that pizza, it travels really well. It's great for delivery, all that type of stuff. But I do think that there is probably an opportunity in the future for a pizza place. So that's where it came from was, you know, piece was supposed to be a slice of pizza and it was going to be that. And then it started evolving into becoming this like other idea, and oysters came into the mix, and then Asian influence kind of came into the mix. And to be totally honest, Matt Goodall, who's our executive chef, he's an incredible chef. And a lot of this came from his, you know, his culinary background. So he used to work at Canoe in Toronto, some really high-end places in Toronto. And that's really kind of where we ended up with this amazing menu, is that, you know, he had all of these tools to his disposal. And, you know, I wasn't going to say, go make pizza. You know, like he's an incredible chef, and it's really hard to build chef-inspired places because, you know, if that person leaves, well, then you've just lost your quarterback, right? You've lost your superstar. So
that's what I also, since you brought up, what I kind of wanted to roll into was what's the process like? Because it's not like you're hiring for your marketing agency. It's pretty easy. Okay, you can just you learn how to do everything yourself. You master it, then you hire out. You can teach people how to master this certain aspect of the business, but it's not like you're a Michelin star chef. So what's it like hiring a chef? Do you have to just get a bunch of people in and say, can you cook this menu and let me taste it and see if I like it or not? Or
at Paint and Decor Concepts, we are so much more than a paint store. We have the best paint in the business, hands down. And as we get into exterior season, the new Element Guard by Benjamin Moore is the premium quality exterior paint that stands up to the elements. Also time to get those decks. This is Ready Seal, the best stain we've seen so far. No laps, no wrens, no streaks. If you want to know more about these amazing products, come in and see us Monday through Saturday, 9 to 4. Paint Decor Concepts, 826 Queen, East.
Yeah, so the way we did it is we did tryouts. So we ended up, our office actually has like a nice rooftop patio on it with like a full kitchen. And so we had Matt come in and cook like a 10-course tasting menu. And he actually brought Michaela, who is the general manager of Peace, with him as kind of somebody to help serve the food. And that's how we ended up meeting her too. So they kind of came together. They've been friends since they were kids. They're a really good pair just in terms of like how they balance each other out and how they run this place. But yeah, he came in and like just banged out this like 10-course menu that was phenomenal. And I was like, this probably is our guy. Like, and you can tell that, maybe he wasn't to the level of like an executive chef at that moment in his career, but he was going to get there really fast.
Yeah.
And, this place was a crash course in that. And he was like, 2 weeks in, this place was like flawless, like, no problems at all. It was running like a well-oiled machine. So,
Wow. Yeah. So I guess kind of more on the menu, like how do you kind of how do you like know what you're going to have on your menu, and how do you kind of cut it down? Like,
Or is that just fully up to the chef?
Yeah.
No, so we do a little bit of a different system here. So what we end up doing is Matt and the team will develop different menu items. So we've got kind of our core staples, right? So people that have eaten here before, we've got bao buns on the menu. Like that's pretty much a staple. It's probably not going anywhere, but we might introduce new bao buns. We also have other things that like sell particularly well that are really hard to get rid of. Like, it's pretty hard to get rid of our piece maki, which is one of our like premier selling sushi rolls. But what we do is we have them kind of design new menu items, and we'll have a tasting. So we'll kind of taste them, refine them, refine them. And it'll be a collaborative effort. So definitely a lot of those come from Matt. But we also get some of those from Nigel and Alex, who are kind of the top of the back of house staff. They design some really great dishes, and actually some that are on our current menu today as well. So very much a collaborative effort just in terms of how we get to where we are today.
Is there an item, I got to ask, like, is there going to be a certain food or dish that will never be on your menu? Like, what's something that's like, we're not doing that here?
Man, you know what? I'd love to say but first week we were open, somebody came in, they're like, you don't have a hamburger on your menu. And I wanted to be like, a hamburger? Like, we're definitely not a hamburger joint. No. But having said that, I don't ever want to rule that out, because there's probably something that we could do in terms of flair that would be like great.
A different type of hamburger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't want to rule anything out, and I think that's not really a good way of doing business, is to like, put yourself in this box and the confines of that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it takes us.
That's funny. Someone came in. So you're located right on Queen Street. I mean, like, let's be real. Yeah. Sault Ste. Marie is notorious for its downtown. Like, what I mean? I'm sure you've heard many stories, and I'm curious, like, what's the kind of craziest experience you've had maybe with a customer or someone coming in?
Has there been any crazy experiences with like customers in here, or anything like happen outside the restaurant, or anything that's just been like?
Yeah, I mean, we've had actually somebody come in the back door while we were all here and like stole a wallet out of the kitchen, which, the back door was propped open and it was our fault. Like, we should have had it closed and locked. But they just like kind of came in and like waited till people weren't looking, and then like snuck in the back of the kitchen. But I mean, like, that's typical, right?
Yeah.
Kind of my position on this is that downtown's not going to change if we don't change it. And so I used to be a part owner of God's Country Clothing, which is just over here, kind of close to us. We're trying to do things a little bit one block at a time, just in terms of how you clean up downtown. Yeah. But downtown's kind of become the heartbeat of a city. And I think that there's been so much kind of development up on the hill, so up on Great Northern Road, for those of you that aren't from here. It's a whole separate section of town. Yeah. And so, to kind of bring some more of that development back downtown, some of those dollars, and there's some bigger business people that are coming downtown now and spending big money, right? Yeah. So some of the bigger dollars in town. And the more that we do that, the better it's going to be. So the more restaurants we have, the more patios we have, the more kind of foot traffic we have. Yeah. Like, it's almost like we need a program where we encourage everybody that works downtown to like walk for 30 or 40 minutes a day, because just them walking around makes our downtown better.
Yeah. True. Yeah, because you're pushing, I guess, those type of people out. If we're flooding it with more and more, I guess, population, and more people are coming down here.
Yeah, you want to draw it down.
And there's obviously a need for treatment for people that are down here, and there's a lot of treatment facilities down here. So I don't want to take away from that, but obviously if we have more of like kind of that business professional crowd, then people feel more comfortable coming downtown, because I feel comfortable walking downtown, but I can't say that it's the same for everybody. Yeah, if you're an older individual, you might not feel as comfortable.
And you've been, like you said, Toronto, New York, Windsor, like you people become accustomed to that kind of stuff, and you kind of just not think much about it, whereas people who maybe are from here, have stayed there their whole life, like it might be scary for them, right? Like, they don't know any different. Like, it's just.
Has there ever been any famous people or celebrities or anyone come into Peace yet? That
We actually just had Harlan Williams here.
Really?
Yeah, from Dumb and Dumber.
Wow.
He was here yesterday, actually.
Oh, yeah, actually, I remember that. Someone sent that into my group chat and said picture. I think he came to a couple different places or like 2 different places.
Yeah.
So everybody sent it in and said, yeah, he was at Peace, actually. So that's funny. I totally
If you have a
forgot about
picture,
that.
we'll have to like throw it up on the screen here. If you send us a picture after, we'll,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
So he was in just that. I think he was scouting locations for a new movie. But we've had a couple famous people. If you've ever watched the show Departures, Scott Wilson and Andre Dupuis. I actually do some work with them on the agency side of things,
Okay.
but they've been in here before, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, it's great. It's become kind of one of those areas where people show up.
Yeah,
That's got to be cool.
I mean, I know, like, definitely, like, I study media and film, so I know they're trying to grow the film industry here, and, you know, like, probably in the next few years, we're going to be seeing maybe some bigger names or bigger things coming to the Sioux, so it's exciting.
Yeah,
Could have-
absolutely.
you never know who's walking in next, right?
There's tons of grant dollars for it, so I mean, I think that's starting to really pick up as well. So the film industry here is growing, and hopefully some of those dollars are getting spent downtown as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So since you spent a lot of your time, like you said, in the marketing agency working, and basically part of your job was to go out for dinners and go out to restaurants and entertain people, is it kind of cool and full circle, like almost like you made it sort of having your own restaurant that you can kind of take clients to now? Like, do you ever take clients here and
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
Like
I'll take clients here to entertain them a little bit. I mean, I try not to eat here all the time because, first of all, I don't want to get sick of it. But then also, it's not like a super relaxing, enjoyable experience for me. It's not like me going to another restaurant.
True.
The one thing I will say, though, is that it's kind of ruined that experience for me because I can go sit down at, like, a normal, like, high-end restaurant and be like, here's the high-margin dishes on here, you know, here's how much they're making on this, here's how much they have this wine marked up. Like, I could tell you just by looking at a menu.
now it's like
exactly
work?
what
It's every time you go out to a restaurant, you're
even
almost
enjoy
like,
it.
Yeah, or I'm like, let me take a picture. This is good inspiration for the
Yeah.
team. So
yeah, that's funny. No, that's very cool though.
I guess we could ask about, like, I mean, kind of talked about it, like, coming here for dinner, like, you know, it's your place. Like, have you ever, you know, maybe shut it down and had some family come over, close relatives, and kind of throw a little thing, like, for
we've had
yourselves?
some, yeah, I mean, less so for myself, but I mean, we've had some closed location parties. Definitely, the staff do that quite often.
Yeah, good.
So, you know, if they have a birthday or something like that, we'll definitely give them the space. Part of that is, you know, just kind of influencing that positive culture where it's like, hey, you know, you guys do a ton for us. We're going to do whatever we can to help you guys out. So we try and do that for our staff a lot. And then, some family things, family events and stuff like that. We come here quite frequently as a family, just my mom and I and my extended family, just to come have dinner every once in a while.
Why not? I'm just personally curious about, like, you mentioned your day-to-day is not fully tied up at Peace. You're not, you know, it's not what takes up most of your day-to-day, or you're mostly at Dig Deep working there. But what was it like at the beginning as far as your day-to-day? Because obviously you're probably doing a lot at Dig Deep and but what is your role in here? Like, say, what if someone books off or something? Have you ever had to wait tables or get behind the bar or do anything like that?
I try and avoid the hands-on work just to get in people's way. You know, like, I am not as talented as some of the people that work here when it comes to, and you know, I can get around a kitchen really good. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm a pretty good cook, but I'm not going to be working the hotline here at Peace, banging out, you know, 100 dishes in a night.
Exactly.
But my day-to-day is more so on the kind of planning side of things and then the business side of things. So I run, you know, obviously all the accounting, the banking, paying the bills and all that type of stuff, but then also kind of working with the team just on terms of, like, you know, it's a restaurant. You're going to have tons of HR things that you need to deal with. You're going to have tons of hiring and stuff like that you have to deal with on a kind of daily basis. But when we first started, it was actually a really interesting time in my life. So my father had just passed away when we closed on this building.
Oh, wow.
I just had like a 1-year-old son. He was like 6 months old at that time.
Yeah.
So kind of from the time we started the build until, like, we opened, it was like my son being 6 months old to being like a year old. And it was, you know, it was crazy.
Obviously a whole lot was going on.
Yeah, crazy time in my life. So that was just, like, over the top just in terms of, like, total work, right? Because not only do you have that work level at home, but then you also have that work level between 2 or 3 different businesses as well. So
yeah, I guess you really get to work on your time management skills when it comes to running a massive, you know, agency, and then also attempting to open a restaurant, and then obviously everything that's happening at home as well. Having a newborn, for most people, having a newborn is just, you take time off work, and that's a full-time job with itself. Meanwhile, you're trying to start a restaurant and whatnot. So yeah, that is crazy.
What's like because you were saying you're kind of more behind the scenes, less in the kitchen. Like, how do you find, like, your, like, for customer base? Like, do you find a lot of people booking through online, calling in reservations, more people just walking in? Like, is that kind of all automated through your website, or like how does that kind of all work?
Yeah. So the nice thing about running an agency is that our digital presence is really good. And yeah, like advertising, everything, that's all really dialed in. But yeah, we have a reservation system which actually links right to our front of house system. So when you make a reservation online, it comes, like, it updates in real time. It'll show you exactly where you're sitting, where that person's sitting, allow us to do kind of live planning. Typically, the way our place works is that between like Thursday and Saturday, you need a reservation. I mean, we do take walk-ins, but it's just a little bit more difficult to get in.
Yeah.
And the really hard thing, actually, when we open this place is we have a massive bar. So the bar actually makes up, like, I think it's like almost 30 seats in this place of our 78-seat restaurant. So it's huge. And people in Sault Ste. Marie weren't used to sitting at a bar. Like in Toronto, that's totally normal.
Very normal.
It's very common for you to go to a place and sit at a bar. But here in the Sault, that wasn't common. And so we had a really hard time with like people walking in and being like, you're going to be sat at the bar or at the oyster bar where they prep the food in front of you. And people were just kind of uncomfortable with that at the start. And now it's kind of like the ideal spot to sit. It's like everybody wants to sit at the bar if you're going on a date or something like that. So
yes, you definitely kind of switched it up by doing something like that.
Yeah,
that's very true.
But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, it's all updated in the reservation system. We have a review kind of that gets automated review system that gets sent out automatically. So you'll get an email, after your stay here to say, okay, how was your experience? We then have that, if it's a negative response, we have the ability to kind of contact that customer and figure it out, like why it was a negative experience. Or if it's a really positive experience, we prompt them to do that in a public way. So that's, private, it comes back to us, but then we also have the ability to, prompt them to do Google reviews and stuff like that, which obviously helps business.
Yeah,
for sure.
I guess I have a question. Does I'm just curious if he still works here. Does Tanner Rutland still work
Yes,
here?
he does.
At the bar?
Yeah.
I know Tanner just because he was a teacher at my high school few years back, and he was also my hockey coach, and I know he's a great time. So I couldn't imagine having him in the establishment just livening up the place. Like, yeah,
and that's kind of like a testament to kind of like the type of people we hire. Yeah. Like everybody's kind of brings their own flair to the place and like adds to the culture of like all the people that work here. So yeah, Tanner's great, and we're happy to have him.
Yeah, how many people are part of the Peace team?
Right now we've got 21.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty big operation.
Yeah, for sure.
Just kind of in like an average day, we'll have 4 to 5 people working the kitchen, usually 2 people behind the bar, and then 3 servers on it at a single time. So.
Wow. Yeah. So what's it? I guess bringing it back a little bit, but for starting something up this massive, like obviously there's a lot of capital and whatnot that goes into it. Was there any nerves whatsoever when it comes to like, okay, what if this just flops and no one? Or were you pretty confident in the fact that, okay, I'm a
fuck yeah is my answer. There was like many times where I just sat there. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah. And the interesting thing about that is like I'm very much into kind of reinvestment over the kind of the course of my career, and I definitely want to continue to reinvest. But something like this, it's the bank's not going to finance they'll finance you to a certain extent, but they're not going to finance you to like. Restaurants are like the number one failing business you can possibly open, right? So banks are really weary on like trying to give you too much money. We've got a great banking partner, Northern Credit Union, so they actually did quite a bit for us. But yeah, like this is $700,000-800,000 operation just in terms of getting this place off the ground, and that's a lot of money out of pocket. If you're only putting half of that on a mortgage, so and
because you don't really know what's going to happen realistically, you're just kind of starting in hopes that okay, well, I have a good idea and I'm just going to take action and hopefully people like it and
yeah, you can model until your hair falls out. So obviously I don't have any, but like model every scenario possible. Kind of model some of those worst case scenarios just to see what happens. And, I think my fallback plan was like, if this place like totally does not do well, I'm just going to turn this into like the best office ever. Yeah. For my marketing firm, right? Because then that way we would have like the bar and everything in here. It'd be fine. We'd figure it out. Yeah. But I'm happy it was successful and it's going to continue to be a restaurant for a long time.
You think you'd say like you're happy you took the risk of opening the place? Like, we think you'd be kind of, if you never did it, like you think you'd be kind of like I wish I took a jab at it?
Yeah, it's definitely a passion project. Like, I mean, it's kind of a sad thing to say, but if you're to say, okay, well, like if you want to make the absolute most money possible, given my set of skills, it's probably not going to be opening a restaurant, right? Like I work with a lot of big banks, I do a lot on the consulting side of things. My time would probably be better spent invested in my consulting business, right? By far. So, but having said that, I mean, the restaurant's successful. We're making money. That's great. the real estate company we own actually owns this building as well. So, we're not paying a lease to a third party. We're paying the lease to ourselves. So make a little bit more there as well. So yeah, it's great. We're building something for Sault Ste. Marie, and it's making Sault Ste. Marie a better place. And I don't have any plans of moving. Like, I live in Gooley now. It's a beautiful place to live, but like, I don't ever want to leave Sault Ste. Marie. So I might as well try and make this place as good as possible over here.
Yeah, I agree. And you're pretty, I guess, hard to find when it comes to, I didn't honestly know for sure if you were the owner of Peace. Me and Evan were talking before the podcast like a couple of days ago. We're like, honestly, I don't even, I saw Dig Deep in your email. So I was like, I wonder if he's just like the head marketer for Peace or something. And then we had to kind of search. So yeah, I guess glad you are the owner of Peace. I found it on the See Today post after, because we were reading up about the restaurant and how it started. And then we saw that it said you were the president. So I guess, yeah, I thought that was funny, because we didn't actually know for sure who we were going to be sitting down with.
That's by design. I mean, so it's myself and Jeff LG. We're both 50-50 partners in Peace. Jeff's a little bit more silent. I mean, gives his input when we kind of ask for it. But I think that's by design. Like, I don't want to take credit for what the amazing team's kind of done here. I think they deserve all the credit for that. I'm happy to kind of, sit back, not have everybody know that it's me, and focus on the marketing company.
For sure.
That I have to be more forward, and, this is me, you're hiring us type of thing. But this is very much a product of the people that work here.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, you're very successful when it comes to being an entrepreneur and, starting up your own businesses, a consulting agency, this restaurant, real estate company. Was there ever a point in time where you're like a big turning point where you're like, hey, like I made it a little bit, like this is like good now, like I'm good, I'm making a certain amount of the consulting company? Or being an entrepreneur, is it always just like the next thing, the next ring on the ladder?
Yeah, I just don't know if that's me. Like, it's just not me to be like, I'm done,
Yeah, for sure.
Sure, could I live a very comfortable life if I just kind of threw in the towel now and just, I could go to probably part-time work now.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that. Like, what does it look like if I decide that I'm only going to work 3 days a week? It's just not me. Like, I would get so bored. And, I do spend more time with my son now. Like, the days of me working until 11, 12 at night are gone.
Yeah.
Like, when I get off work at like 5 o'clock, I'm home, I do the family thing. I
guess your priority kind of shifts when you have a kid.
Yeah, and sure, like I do open up my laptop and read some emails or something like that before I go to bed, maybe at like 10 or 11, just get a little bit of work done. Or maybe if I wake up early and the rest of the family's sleeping, I'll like hop on my laptop and get a couple things done. I mean, I think that's just entrepreneurial nature. I don't really consider that much work, but or if I have like a cool idea and I just kind of want to explore it and expand on it, those are kind of my good working hours. But yeah, like 9 to 5 now, kind of Monday to Friday. The one thing that is kind of the hang up for me right now is that there is a lot of travel that's required as part of the consulting and agency company. So that kind of takes me away quite a bit. We've got, a big client in Winnipeg right now. So even just to get there with like how terrible Air Canada's flight schedules are and like the cancellations and stuff, if that was all 100%, it wouldn't be a big deal. But there's been so many times where I've been like delayed by like 5 days. And
maybe next big business is a private jet company.
Yeah. We've definitely had our fair share of canceled flights on
I mean, we've obviously never traveled as much as you, but we've definitely had experiences with Air Canada. I think honestly 80% of my flights is just you just plan for it to go wrong now. Yeah. It's been more times going wrong than it's actually been successful, where it's convenient. It's like, oh yeah, I'd much rather fly than drive because it's so convenient. Every one of the flights is delayed by the day or delayed by the hours, and you end up missing connections.
Which is a great point, because that's what we're doing now. Like, we're having to book the day before, because if we need to be there for a meeting tomorrow, we're just banking on the flight being canceled. And Air Canada actually right now on the Sault Ste. Marie Toronto flights, only 43% reliable. Wow. That's how many they're canceling.
Yeah,
so that's crazy.
Literally so close to my statistic. I said like 70% of the flights I've taken have been canceled or delayed by a day, and I end up just like having to figure it out again. Yeah. But so aside from the business aspect of things, what do you personally like doing outside of business? You said obviously spending a lot of time with the family and whatnot, but like, do you go on a lot of family vacations? Do you enjoy traveling? Obviously doing a lot of it with business and whatnot, but some personal hobbies.
I absolutely love traveling. I mean, I also like spending time on the water. So I've got we just actually got a nice new pontoon boat, so I spent some time on that as well. I used to fish a lot. I don't do that as much. I like to play golf, although I don't get to do that as much as I used to. And yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Formula One fan, so I watch the race all the time.
What's your team?
Red Bull for sure.
Nice.
And this was before Red Bull was good, so I'm happy to say
you're good then. Yeah, I kind of just hopped into it recently within the last year, watching like the F1 on Netflix.
Yeah, Drive to Survive got everybody.
Yeah, I think that definitely hooked me in. I'm like, I like Ferrari, so now I watch it with my buddies all the time, but it's super fun. Before like watching the Netflix series, I think those Netflix series help a lot of people out though. Even the golf one, I don't know if you've watched that. That got me more into golf. yeah, I don't know. I like it because you understand the actual sport now. Before it was just like, I don't even know what I'm watching right now. I don't understand qualifying. It's like, why is there a race before the actual race day? It was all confusing, but it's I love F1 for sure now.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of hobbies, I actually do really enjoy cooking. So I cook quite a bit. So I do actually all the cooking for my family. My girlfriend doesn't cook, so she won't even be mad at me for saying that. She just doesn't.
That's kind of like a perk.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like the restaurant, even, you know, I don't ever profess to be good enough to cook here.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you had kind of this question you really wanted to ask, but I think it ties into kind of how you're saying, like, you don't ever really want to leave Sault Ste. Marie. And I think it's nice that you said that. And you think that if you're going to spend your time here, you're going to put your efforts into, you know, bettering the city. So I think it's perfect to ask that question.
Ask it now. Yeah. The close off question.
Yeah. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I guess if you had an unlimited budget and could start any business to better Sault Ste. Marie outside of what you're already doing, what would you personally do and start up?
Oh man, there's a couple that, you know, might even be like in the future. So I think we need a couple more restaurants on Queen Street that are, you know, good, and that, you know, not that we don't have good restaurants on Queen, we really do, but the more that we have, the better. I think we need like a rock climbing gym, maybe like a couple more brew pubs. That'd be really great. We really lack a really like strong like English or Irish pub style place too.
I agree.
Like I think that'd be something cool for us. But anything that really kind of promotes tourism, the tourism side of who we are. Like if you think about what we have access to and what Sault Ste. Marie could be, it's insane. Like we have the best outdoors ever, you could possibly imagine. You were talking about my hobbies. I didn't mention, but I go canoeing quite a bit, so I've done some pretty.
Are you on the water?
Yeah, I'm on the water in Cooley,
nice.
but I've done some pretty, you know, good canoe trips. And we do a bunch with a bunch of different friends. And there's no like, there's a couple outfitters in town, but I don't think there's enough of that. And there's not like, you know, whitewater kayaking, for example. My brother-in-law does a lot of whitewater kayaking. Like there's not enough of like that promotion of that type of thing. So the more that we can kind of start growing some of those tourism products, and tourism's doing a great job right now in terms of like building a bunch of that stuff up. But the more we can start building a bunch of those tourism products, the better. Like that and brew pubs, the kind of restaurant and food tourism's massive right now. A bunch of that stuff would be fantastic. And, you know, a rock climbing gym and some more of those kind of physical activity things that keep people healthy, that attract young people. Like we need more younger people to come here. Yeah, no, I agree. We have lots, but like, and more coming back, like even people my age coming back being like, you know, I'm done with the Toronto rat race. Yeah. But it's fine. For sure. You know, we need more of that. Yeah, I think he had the exact same answer too. He was saying like a Sky Zone or something that was more active for like the young kids to do something on the weekends. Maybe that's just the younger me talking, but I always felt like as a kid, other than riding your bike or going to the nearest field and playing basketball or something, there's not much for, I think, maybe teens or younger kids to kind of get out and do other than like getting in trouble or whatever. Yeah, some sort of play zone or something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Be great to have paintball back in the city. Yeah, like, you know, paintball. Yeah, I forgot about that. Didn't we used to have a? Well, I was definitely way too young. Treetops. Yeah, that's what it was. Treetops is awesome. Yeah. Treetops. We had a place called Bunkers. Although you guys probably wouldn't have experienced that, but it was where Top Hat was. So Smokies. That used to be actually like a paintball arena with a closed roof and everything. That's why it looks so cool. Cause like, we were there the last weekend, and I was like, man, this looks like a movie. Yeah, I was not expecting that. Where are we right now? Yeah, so it used to actually be like a movie theater, all closed in. This is before they tore it out and made it a patio, but it used to be for paintballing. And so like stuff like that would be great, and some more of those activities even downtown, like be fantastic. Searchmont is absolutely incredible. Yeah. So I do a ton of snowboarding. So, you know, I think the more that product continues to get better, like the current owners invested so much money, it looks beautiful. Like the atmosphere there is great. You know, it's becoming more of a vibe. But the more that we start encouraging that kind of ski and snowboard culture there, the better it is for our city. And it's almost like it could be its own micro community out there at some point. 100%. Yeah, I totally agree. Just bettering the community in general with more stuff to do. And I even like the idea of the Irish pubs and stuff like that, just because I think we're at the age now where it's like you want to do something different than go to Top Hat and drink rum and cokes and go on the dance floor or go to Chuck's. So yeah, I agree. But we know you got service coming up here in 30 minutes. So I guess if you want to tell the people where they can find Dig Deep on socials, where they can find Peace, where they can reserve the table, stuff like that. So peacerestaurant.ca, and come check us out. We're located at 250 Queen Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And then my consulting company is digdeep.ca. So, you know, always happy to take on new marketing clients as well. But we're pretty busy as it is. So awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, Kevin. Thanks for
hosting us and letting us film here in general.
Thanks for having us.
We'll include the links to Peace and Dig Deep in the description. And thank you for being on the very first episode.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, guys.
Awesome.
Awesome. That was,
Peace out.